Let's quickly understand the consequences of World War II in a simple way for ICSE History Board examination. The first point is defeat of Axis powers. There were two main powers, the Axis powers and the Allied powers. The Axis powers included Japan, Germany, and Italy. The Allied powers included USA, France, and USSR. Up to the middle of 1942, the Axis powers enjoyed a remarkable success. But by the middle of 1942 and the end of 1942, the tide began to rise and turn against Axis powers, which means that Axis powers were winning in the early 1942, but by the end of 1942, the Allied powers started winning. In November 1942, the Allied forces recaptured the territories lost by France. France was a part of Allied powers. So the Allied forces recaptured the territories which it lost, then followed by victory over Italy and Germany, which means Italy and Germany have been conquered by the Allied powers and Japan is left. So what happened at Japan? There was a conference named Potsdam Conference. It happened on July 26, 1945, and in this conference the Allied powers asked Japan to surrender, but Japan refused. Then America dropped a bomb on Japan, which we call as the atom bomb, in Hiroshima and in Nagasaki at August 6, 1942, and in Nagasaki at August 1945. Japan surrendered on September 2, 1945, and that marked the end of the Second World War. What happened with Germany? What happened with Germany after the Second World War? Germany was divided into two zones, which was the West Germany and the East Germany. This FRG is the Federal Republic of Germany and German Democratic Republic. This West Germany was controlled and administered by UK, USA, and France. This was administered by the Soviet Union. What is the Soviet Union? That was basically a huge country made of many republics. The main countries were Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Georgia, and many more. So it was a group. It had East Berlin as its capital, and Bonn as capital. So what is this capitalist and this communist? So this division was not just based on geographical grounds. It had huge impacts as these two were also different in their ideologies. This capitalist nation or democratic nation, capitalism means that there is individual freedom to do any business. But communist means that the government has to control all the business, which basically was a main purpose that there should be economic equality. What does economic equality means? Economic equality means that there should be no rich and poor. Everybody should be equal in a country. So German Democratic Republic, which was controlled by Soviet Union, has an extremist ideology that everyone should be equal, and we call it as communist ideology. And this is democratic, which means people choose their leader. What happened with Japan? American army occupied Japan until 1952, and Italy too was conquered and governed by conquering forces or the Allied forces. Now, this division of the world into two different parts led to a Cold War. Now, what is a Cold War? Cold War is a state of extreme political tension between two countries without actual armed conflict and actual fight. USA and USSR, the two power blocs, were engaged in a Cold War. It includes treating each other with extreme hostility. Hostility means hate. And contrasting ideologies, which I explained to you, that the communist ideology and the capitalist ideology. This led to the division of world into two power blocks, and these two power blocks, USA and USSR, tried to weaken their opponent but avoided a direct conflict, which means they did not shoot each other directly, but there was extreme political tension. The another point is formation of the United Nations. Remember this, that at Yalta, three big leaders, Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, and Stalin. Roosevelt was the president of USA, Winston Churchill the prime minister of Britain, and Stalin the premier of USSR. These three discussed how to rebuild post-war world, which means they tried to bring peace and avoid another world war, which was the Third World War, which has not occurred yet. And formation of UN, this is important date. We have to remember that it was formed on October 24, 1942, and it is also known as the United Nations Day. Now, what is this? In this box, it is written that in the Pacific Ocean, the America was trying to liberate the islands taken by Japan. These Japanese used kamikaze fighters, who were suicide pilots who crashed explosive-filled planes into American ships. Even citizens were being trained for a land invasion, so America knew that invading Japan would be extremely difficult and costly. Therefore, America chose an air attack, and that air attack was about the atomic bombs. In July, the atomic bombs were tested in Mexico, and on August, it was dropped. In August, they were dropped. So this was all the consequences. Thank you.